The advice and opinions expressed by the host of Autism Live and her guests are meant solely as suggestion and should not be in any way construed as child-specific advice. The Center for Autism and Related Disorders advises working with a board-certified behavior analyst who has experience with autism before starting any intensive behavioral intervention. Any choices you make in determining your child's treatment are completely at your own discretion.
Good morning and welcome to Autism Live. I'm Shannon Penrod and we are coming to you from the Warner Center in Woodland Hills, California. This is the home for Autism Live. It is also the home for the Center for Autism and Related Disorders. And we're very excited to be here with you on this Monday. We got a big show for you guys and I'm excited that you are here with us. So want to start by letting you know that the whole show is meant to be interactive. Traven is going to show you some of the different ways that you can connect with us. While he's doing that, I want to remind you what it says on the screen there. autism-live.com is our home page. So if you go there, there's a lot of things to do on our homepage site. You can check out the toy guide from last year, although the new one's coming in a couple of days. You can chat with us live via that page, and it is completely free and anonymous. You just go to the chat button at the bottom of the screen and click on that. It opens up a screen where you can type and hit enter, and it shows up here on my screen. You can watch all the videos, and you can search for them in lots of different ways. So that's just some of the stuff that you can do from that page, and we encourage you to subscribe. When you subscribe, and of course when you go to autism-live.com, a pop-up will come on about 6 seconds into your experience, and it will say, would you like to subscribe? If you do subscribe, all that will happen is that usually on early Monday morning, you get a little programming guide that tells you what the plan is for the week, who's going to be on the show. And that can be a really fun thing. We really try very hard not to over talk to you or put, like something in your mailbox at, every 35 minutes. We only send you the postcard, which usually happens on Monday morning. And occasionally, if there's something extra big that's happening, then we will give you a notification. Almost always, like the only time I can think that we have done that is when we suddenly had Dr. Temple Grandin on the show that we had less than an hour's notice, and we were going to go live at a time that we normally weren't live, and we were like, let's do it. But we wanted our audience to know, you can be asking Dr. Temple Grandin live right now. We don't even give you notification when we're going to be live from somewhere. So, we're really not about that, because I don't know about you, but I love signing up to get coupons for somebody, but then what ends up happening is that, I'm scrolling through my email and it's like 35 coupons that come every single day. Thank you very much. And then it's just, I ignore them, and we don't want you to ignore us. That's the last thing we want. We don't want you to ignore us, because you know why we're here? We're here to give you information and inspiration. That's why we're here, and ignoring does not make that happen. So in any case, if you'd like to subscribe, please do. That's what you're subscribing to. If you don't subscribe, that pop-up will keep popping up, but supposedly it's supposed to go away if you do. But all you have to do is hit the X to make it go away, which, I think it's pretty much, that's the world, right? We resisted it for a really long time, but it was so hard for people to find where to subscribe. And people were asking us, they're like, could you just give us a pop-up? So, there we are. So if you hate it, I'm sorry. There were people who wanted it. There we go. Okay, so the other thing that I want to say to you at the start of the show, a couple of things here. First of all, that we have lots of experts on the show, and I've got them for you today. I'm not one of them. I'm an autism mom, and that's a phrase that I don't say trippingly anymore, because I'm trying to use those terms. I'm trying to say that I'm a mother of an individual who was diagnosed with autism at the age of 2.5. That's really what describes me. So that's what I'm trying to remember to say. But that's who I am, and I'm a former teacher, and I care deeply that you get to the resources that you want and that you get the sense that you are not alone in this, because that's really what I want to provide for you on a regular basis. And if I can give you more information on top of that so that you get to the resources that you need, oh, my day is made when I get to do that, right? But if I can also help you to feel like you are not alone, and that this is doable, that it's hard, yes, but that it's absolutely doable and that you are not alone, I know that's what I needed. And I hear from so many of you that are like, okay, like, you guys, what's up? When I go places and I'll see people and they're like, you don't say it as much as you used to, the whole thing about we hold hands. We get there together. Si se puede. I know people wait for me to say that. So that's why I say it. Okay. So but I'm not an expert in autism. I have an informed opinion. This is the new thing that I say, because I have an informed opinion and I care. But it isn't one size fits all. And what you need is so different from what everybody else needs. And I'm very aware of that. So write to me. Don't make me be a mind reader. Let me know what you need. And then we'll see if I can help, right? That's what we're here for. So please write into us, and there's many ways to write into us, and you saw some of those before. But the other thing is that on Mondays and Thursdays, we like to start the show with something we fondly refer to as the jargon of the day. This is when we take on one word, one phrase, one acronym. We try to figure out what in the hey nani nani are those experts talking about, so that then we can actually understand what they're saying and make progress, right? So we give you the actual definition first. I love that, because then we get to see how redonkulous actual definitions are. As many times as I can, I make fun of it, and because it's so ridiculous, let's be honest. And then we try to give you a working definition, which often isn't, I'll be honest with you, not much better, because some of the definitions were worked on with us by BCBAs, and I wanted to put it in really easy terms, and they wouldn't let me. I'm just keeping it real here, right? But in any case, then I try to give you an explanation of it. If you don't get it the first time, please count yourself as a number of people who don't. I didn't get it the first time, right? But we want to help you to move in the direction of having an understanding of why this term is important to you, how it might help you, and how it might apply in your life or in the life of somebody that you care about, right? So that's what we do and why that we do it. So here's one that's always troubling to me: operant conditioning. So let's go and look at our actual definition of operant conditioning, shall we? Operant conditioning, the conditioning in which an operant, can we just stop right there? Like, I hate when a definition just takes the terms and switches them around. Operant conditioning is the conditioning in which an operant response, thank you. Now I really understand what it is. An operant response is brought under stimulus control, thank you, don't know what that is, by virtue of presenting reinforcement or punishment contingent upon the occurrence of the operant response. Thank you. Like, it's the case in point. If you don't know what operant conditioning is, when you look that up in a book, you are no closer to knowing what it is afterwards. Like, well, thanks. That was a big waste of my time, an epic waste of my time. All right, so everybody take a breath, right? Let's look at a working definition and see if we can't make heads or tails of it. Operant conditioning is using reinforcement to increase desired behaviors. Okay. If I don't have to worry about and I can hear BCBAs breaking out into hives as I'm saying this, that's fine, let them. What we need to understand is that if we're doing operant condition, if somebody is talking about doing operant conditioning with your child or your spouse or with you, what we want to understand is that they're going to give reinforcement in order to increase desired behaviors. So if I'm a teacher and I'm teaching math, and I want to teach the multiplication tables, right? I'm going to use different methods to do it, but I'm going to give a reinforcer every time my students do well. Operant conditioning. I know. Like, honestly, I don't know. And I know BCBAs are breaking out into hives and going, it's more complicated than that. Thank you. But what's important to me as a parent and as a teacher is that we get a baseline of understanding what this is, a place from which to get a grip, right? And it's important to know when somebody's talking about using reinforcement as a way of getting the behavior to happen. Because I hear so many people who talk about, well, I don't want my child to be treated like a dog, right? I don't want it to be this thing where, they do this and they get the treat. Okay, I don't want my child to be treated like a dog either. But the truth of the matter is that they were using operant conditioning on humans and then realized, I wonder if this works on dogs. And then they went to doing it with dogs. And guess what? It works with dogs. You know what else? It works with almost everything that's alive. You can use operant conditioning with fish, with chimpanzees. It just so happens that it works on living, breathing things. But guess who we discovered it with first? Human beings. So, and you yourself, there's operant condition is used with you as well, because if you get a paycheck at work, that's operant conditioning. You're being reinforced for showing up to work, because you don't get the paycheck when you don't come to work. That's operant conditioning, folks. So, we don't, with a dog, we make it super clear, you do this, you get this treat, right? And when we're doing this with small kiddos, we want to make it super clear. So you're going to see that it's like they do something and they get the reinforcer, right? And if that looks like dog training to you, I just want you to realize that it works. It works. And it's not, nobody is saying that your child is a dog, clearly, right? But this is a science that works. If I give you a reinforcer for doing something, you're more likely to do it more often. It's just a fact. It's just a fact. So operant conditioning, we teach you how to do something, right? And then the more you do it, we give you a reinforcer for doing it. And you learn, when I do this, good things happen. And that's a good thing. And when you see someone who has been having trouble learning something, and then this kind of conditioning is used where if they do something, they get rewarded for it, and they do it again, they get rewarded for it, and they do it again, and they get rewarded, you see them gain confidence. You see them gain skill. You see them happier. It's a good thing. So, operant conditioning. Now we don't know what the definition means, but we know what we're talking about. And to me, that's what's important. Okay, so let's move on to our question of the day. We love to hear from you guys on Facebook, on YouTube, wherever you watch us, if you feel like you would like to answer the question of the day. And our question to you today is, what's the biggest challenge you have overcome? Like, what's the thing that you were like, man, I just can't do that. That's just really hard for me. I can't do it. And yet you found a way. Because I want you to think about that there was a moment when you thought you couldn't do it and then you found a way. I would be honest with you that, I'm currently facing lots of challenges and have been over the summer health-wise, and where I was like, I'm just not going to be able to do this. That my A1C was so high that they were like, oh, this is going to be a year, and it's 3 months later, and my A1C is where it's supposed to be. I'm still not where I'm supposed to be, but my A1C is better. And how did I do that? I will be honest with you that I applied what I did with my life's biggest challenge and how we got through that. And my life's biggest challenge was my son being diagnosed with autism. Hands down, my life's biggest challenge. See, I'm going to well up and cry, but I was in a place in that time when I was like, I don't know if I'm up to this. I looked around, and we just had the lemur mom on Friday, and she said, when my child was diagnosed with autism, I looked around and I saw all these super women, and I thought, that's not going to be me. And I think we've all felt that. And don't kid yourself, I felt that to the point where I have admitted that the thought crossed my mind. I was driving someplace and I found myself daydreaming about, hoping that I would get into a car accident and be put into a coma, that I could wake up 8 years from then, because by then somebody else would have helped my son and it would all be better and I wouldn't have to deal with it. Like, that's horrible, but I'm telling on myself, admitting to you, that's where my head was at, because I just didn't think that I could do this. First of all, we didn't have the money. And I was like, I don't want to know about this. I don't want to change my whole life. I don't want to be somebody who's having to find recipes. My big thing that I would say to people is, if you ever hear me buying agar, and saying, oh, I have a recipe involving agar, I want you to smack me in the head. I don't want to be one of those women. I don't want to suddenly, I don't want to have to learn a whole new thing. I don't want to have to be an insurance expert. I just, like, there was no part of it, but I wanted my child to have his life in front of him. And so I started trudging, right? But going, I'm not going to be able to do this. But I really said, this is where I want to go. And this is the way that we're going to get there. And I'm going to check in on a regular basis to see, is it helping us to get there? And I'm going to make course corrections along the way. But I'm only going to do today what I can only do today. And I'm going to have the picture of where we're going, because you've got to know where you're going. But I'm not going to worry about that. I'm going to do what I can today. And that's what we did. That is what we did. And some days I couldn't do as much as other days. Just keeping it real. But every day we did as much as we could on that day. And I, at least at one point I was like, man, this really works. Like, we're getting somewhere. And we were checking, and if we weren't getting somewhere, we said, let's back it up. When was it last working? And, and let's go with this again. But it taught me so much about myself and about how to achieve anything that's hard. You got to know where you're going, and you got to start. And you can't be so consumed with where you're getting that you don't start and you don't take each thing and each day as it comes. And every day you got to course correct and go, is what I'm doing today getting me to there? And if you just do, and when I'm able to apply that to other things in my life, like my A1C, it works. I'm trying to apply it to other things now. But I want to hear from you guys. What's the biggest challenge that you've overcome, and how did you do it? Okay, so that's our question today. Moving on, our topic for today, which kind of goes hand in hand with this, is about sweating the small stuff. And isn't the asterisk after that, it's all the small stuff? But the reason why I took the time to talk to you guys about that, if you know what the goal is, and you're in that moment where you're like, am I doing what I'm supposed to do today? What's available to me today? I can't, yesterday my computer wasn't working, and I was like, well, I guess I can't do the things on the computer, so what can I do? I've got phone calls to make, right? So, you do what you can with what you have that day, because you know where you're going. Now, if the computer isn't working long term, sometimes you got to stop and say, okay, and what I was doing to get the computer fixed isn't happening, and I need the computer long term to get where I'm going. But if we sweat all of the small stuff and go, well, I can't do anything, right? Isn't that what a lot of us do? I do that. I can't do anything. Well, that's not entirely true. There's always something that you can do that day. But when you get to the end of the day and you're exhausted and you're like, I did what I could and that's all I can do, boom, you're done, right? But really ask yourself that question, because a lot of times it's the small stuff sinks the battleship. So we got to pay attention to it, right? But I think it's better to say, put it in the question of, what can I do? What can I do? Do that stuff. And then if it's truly small stuff, it'll fix itself. But if it persists, then it turns into big stuff, and then we got to pay attention to it. So that's my thing for today. But si se puede, we can get there. All right. So big show for you. We got Bonnie Yates in 3 seconds here, and then a little bit later on in the show, Heather Lane is going to be with us. She's a Fullerton Cares director. So all of that coming up after these messages. Stick with us.
Hey, I'm Candace Cameron Bray.
Tom Bergeron.
You're watching Autism Live.
And you're watching Autism Live.
And you're watching Autism Live.
You're watching Autism Live.
Recently, more and more children are being diagnosed with the condition and getting the support they need as awareness grows. But what happens to these children as they grow up? It's estimated that over 500,000 youth with autism will turn 18 in the next decade, and they'll be faced with a very difficult reality. As children with autism grow up, their services start to disappear or become very difficult to access. Things like medical care, mental health counseling, vocational training, and more. All services that are still desperately needed. The loss of support that youth with autism face as they grow up is so severe that it's referred to in the autism community as falling off a cliff. Adults with autism need the same level of support they had as children to avoid falling off the services cliff. Introducing Skills Living, the web-based software designed specifically to help transitioning youth and adults with autism so they can avoid the cliff and instead fly to success. With Skills Living, help your learner with autism develop the skills they need in all the critical areas of adult life, including self-control, planning, and problem-solving, effective communication, performing life skill tasks for independent living, acquiring and maintaining employment or other meaningful activities, developing and maintaining social skills and relationships, accessing transportation and public services, and being safe. Skills Living includes a comprehensive assessment, a data collection mobile app, behavior intervention plan builder, and automatic progress reporting. It also provides a complete curriculum addressing 16 key areas spanning the entire range of functioning adulthood. Skills Living is easy to use and can be implemented by schools, parents, and autism service providers. Call or click today for your free demo and see how Skills Living can help your learner with autism avoid the cliff and instead reach their fullest potential. Skills Living. Wish, learn, become.
Welcome back to Autism Live. We're so lucky because we have the wonderful Bonnie Yates, who is a special education attorney, joining us right now via Skype. Bonnie is joining us from the law firm of Hirji and Chow, and we're thrilled to have her with us. Bonnie, tell us a little bit about Hirji and Chow.
Okay, really quickly, Hirji and Chow is a special education law firm. We sort of cover all the bases. We're a 6-attorney firm. We do disability discrimination, we do higher education for students in college, we do regional center services, and we do special education under the IDEA.
You guys are amazing. And then we have a disclaimer that you give at the beginning.
Our disclaimer is we're answering general questions about your legal rights. We're not answering specific questions about your specific situation. If you have a specific situation, you need to talk to a lawyer in your own state about your specific situation, and we would ask that you go to www.copaa.net. That's a good place to start to find an attorney in your state that may be able to answer your questions. If that doesn't work, check with the state bar in your state.
Very cool. So Bonnie, we've been talking about a very tough subject about when kids get injured at school and all the various different ways. None of us like to think about this, but it's really important for us to have this information so that we can act accordingly if something does happen. So
it is a really tough subject. I was just thinking before you said that it's a tough subject. A side note, adults get injured at school too, and sometimes parents are actually on the receiving end when they're told that their child has injured another child or an adult. And I will say that unfortunately, public schools are much more responsive if your child is injuring someone, particularly a staff person, than if your child is being injured.
Yeah.
And that's an unacceptable inequity.
Yeah.
We talked last time about some of the situations in which injuries at school occur, and there, of course, also is always going to be this extension of the school day if you are traveling, let's say, off campus to go to a school function. But generally speaking, we quickly go from talking about the kinds of injuries that students may receive on campus to talking about restraints and seclusion, because there's a really big gray area here in terms of what goes on versus what is legal. And we talked last time about the fact that the law is in flux in California and that it's not as strict as it needs to be. So one of the things we're going to talk about in a little while when we get to it is a more model program for how to deal with the need to use restraints as a behavior intervention, a safe way to do that, which would be using those kinds of techniques only in emergency situations when highly trained people can't come up with anything else to do.
Right.
We're not quite there yet, though. But you can see how there would be situations where there would be the use of restraints that would be legal. So what about a student that requires a car seat or a seatbelt type of restraint, and so on? So, quote, "There's no precise or scientific way to measure the number or extent of injuries to children or injuries to staff as a result of physical restraint and mental effects. As a result of this, the federal government and many states are considering policy development re the use of restraints." Well, it hasn't happened yet. Medicine has those standards, but education doesn't. Quote, "The lack of these commonly accepted written standards in the school, the use of physical restraints, leaves schools getting more susceptible to misunderstanding, improper implementation, and abuse. Many states have no guidelines or regulations, and there's no consistency within the states. But prone restraint, where you have somebody, down on their stomach and you're restraining their arms behind their back and so on, is dangerous and has led to death for some students. So it's a very, very important area of the law for public schools to understand what their legal obligations are, and for that matter, private schools too. But most of these cases are public school cases. So I'm just going to talk to you about a couple of California cases, since we're in California, that maybe give you a sense of how these cases can roll out. This is an old case, Bartel versus Palos Verdes Peninsula School District from 1978, 83 Cal App 3rd 492, 1978. But Palos Verdes School District is still there and very much in business. In this case, a student who was 12 and probably some of his friends gained access to a playground at Lunada Bay Elementary School through either an unlocked gate or a hole in the fence. The boys sustained fatal injuries from playing a dangerous game while on school grounds. And they don't tell us what that was. And I was trying to imagine what it was, and I really haven't been able to figure it out. Anyway, the family sought recovery from the school district on the basis that the school district maintained a dangerous condition, and the school district negligently failed to supervise and maintain the school property or to notify parents of the dangerous condition. The school district dismissed the failure to state a cause of action, and they dismissed the case because they said that parents hadn't come up with a viable cause of action, and the family appealed. So what the family was trying to do was establish that the school district had a special duty to protect this student even while school was closed. And the holding was, the issue was, does the school district owe a general duty to supervise all persons who utilize its playground or to secure the premises against persons who may enter and injure themselves therein? The holding was, the ruling was, no, a school district does not owe a general duty to supervise all persons who utilize its playground or secure the premises against persons who may enter and injure themselves therein. A school district's duty to supervise its playground depends upon the existence of a special relationship between the school and its students. Here, the Bartels did not claim that their son's presence on school grounds was in connection with the school activity which qualifies as such a relationship. Whether a duty exists requires a consideration of several factors, including the risk of harm, the burden on the defendant, the connection between the defendant's conduct and the victim's injury, moral blame, and prevention of future harm. To impose the burden of around-the-clock supervision of its playground on the school district would impose a severe financial burden. Furthermore, there exists no special circumstances imposing a duty upon the school district to supervise and control activities unrelated to school functions. So that was a 1978 case, and it might be decided differently today, but the author of the article had a comment as follows. Under California Government Code 835, and we're going to be talking about the government code later because we're going to talk about how you make a claim if your student is injured at school, a public entity is liable for an injury caused by a dangerous condition on its property if the plaintiff can show that the property was in a dangerous condition at the time of the injury, that the dangerous condition proximately caused the injury, that the type of injury sustained was reasonably foreseeable, and that either the dangerous condition was created by the negligence or wrongful act of an employee of the public entity within the scope of his employment, or the public entity had actual or constructive notice of the condition and sufficient time in which to have taken measures to guard against it, and so on. So in this case, the finding was that the son sustained injuries as a result of his own conduct and not due to a dangerous condition of the property. And so it ended there.
Wow.
So, as you can see, a very difficult subject all the way around, and you can see how the parents would be aggrieved that their child had died at school, well, not during school, but on a school facility, and that the district people probably felt that it was unreasonable that they should be responsible for these activities during the time school was closed.
Absolutely.
So, am I out of time or do I go on?
Well, we've got about 2.5 more minutes.
All right, well, let me just talk about this. I was only going to talk about two decisions just to give you a feeling sort of for how these things can go. This is another California case again. Daly versus Los Angeles Unified School District from 1972, Cal 3rd, 741, 1970. So the general rule of law was that school personnel supervising the conduct of students must exercise the degree of care a person of ordinary prudence charged with comparable duties would exercise. So in this case, and unfortunately I have to say the two cases that I picked both involved adolescent or teenage boys. During recess, Michael Daly, a 16-year-old student at Gardena High School, was slap boxing with another student in the boys' gymnasium. They boxed for 5 to 10 minutes. A crowd of approximately 30 students gathered to watch. By the way, slap boxing is in quotes. And so I guess that's slapping, not boxing.
Okay.
Suddenly after being slapped, Michael, the decedent, fell backward and fractured his skull on the pavement. The Dalys, Michael's parents, filed a wrongful death action for damages, alleging that the district's failure to supervise the students caused their son's death. The physical education department was responsible for supervising the gymnasium. The chairman of that department stated that he did not know he was to assign a teacher to supervise on any particular day, that there was no formal schedule of supervision times, and that the supervision was left to whomever was in the gym office. At the time of the incident, the chairman was in the office playing bridge.
Ooh.
Ouch. The trial court granted the district's motion for a directed verdict and Daly appealed. So very quickly, the holding was that in this situation, School personnel supervising the conduct of students must exercise a degree of care a person of ordinary prudence charged with comparable duties would exercise. There's enough evidence here for a jury to find that the district failed to meet this standard. The responsible department failed to develop a comprehensive schedule of supervising assignments. Those who did supervise were not informed of their specific duties. The person in the gym office at the time of the incident did not attempt to maximize his ability to oversee students' activities. From these facts, the jury could reasonably find that the school personnel failed to satisfy their duty of care causing Michael's death. The directed verdict, therefore, was improper, reversed. And just very quickly, Daly illustrates one of the many contexts in which courts are increasingly willing to impose a duty of care upon defendants to protect from harm those with whom they are in a special relationship. The duty may be imposed and the defendant found negligent, even where, as here, an intervening negligent or intentional act appears to be the traditional proximate cause of the injury. So I do want to say that part of what you see happening here is that although the other student was clearly liable, I think part of the strategy was to try to create a way to go after the school district because they're the ones that have a policy of insurance, right, not the family. But that's another discussion for another time.
Wow. Okay, well, you filled our head with some things that we need to think about. We'll pick it up today or next week.
Probably you need to go get a cup of coffee.
Right? I mean, none of us wants to really spend a lot of time on these kinds of stories, but it is important that we know what the law is, and because we're taking our children and dropping them off, so it is important to know. So,
well, and I would also add that it's important because some of us have children with autism who end up being accused of committing crimes at school when that's really not what they are doing or intend to do. And so I figure it's valuable for people to understand the legal framework. School districts are very, very worried about being sued for negligence. And they come down hard on kids because they get sued and they have a lot of problems associated with those lawsuits. So anyway, next week we're going to talk about, or actually, next time, we're going to talk about how you file a government claim if your child is injured at school.
All right. Plus, we'll take questions so people can write those in. We want to thank you for being with us. Please tell us how we get a hold of you at Hirjin Chow again.
Well, Hirjin Chow's phone number is 310-391-0330. Our website is www.lawyer4children.com. And if you're in Southern California and you want a complimentary consultation, if you give us a call, we can set that up for you. Thank you again, Shannon.
Thank you so much for being with us. You guys, we're going to take a break and then we'll be back with more Autism Live after these messages. Stick with us.
What is autism?
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 I've been asking myself that for a very, very long time.
Let me think about that one.
Trying to just
Jeez. Let me think. Oh man, that's a rough one. Yes.
Autism.
Autism is a neurological disorder that affects many of our kids in different ways.
It's a learning disability that affects the cognitive functions of the brain.
A lot of people have the misconception that it's a disability, and it's really not.
I look at it as like a special gift.
When one person thinks differently from another.
It's an opportunity for everyone to learn to understand someone that's a little different than them. Autism is the ability to educate.
They're given so much talent in different areas.
To me, autism means a chance to be with and be around people you really care about. Autism is beautiful.
It's a way of seeing the world differently.
It's always unique, totally intelligent, and sometimes mysterious.
Happiness that comes out of my son's hard work.
It's a movement.
Unpredictable.
That's right.
Awesome. Love. The field I want to work in.
Laughter, fun, joy. Autism is beautiful to me.
I want you to remember these three words. There is hope.
Welcome back to Autism Live. That video that you just saw, it's one of our favorites that we show here. We call it the What is Autism video, where we asked a bunch of people what is autism. But what we don't talk about enough is that we shot that at the Mardi Gras for autism that's done by Fullerton Cares, and we shot it a couple of years ago. And I'm referencing it right now because joining us live in the studio is Heather Lane, and we're so excited. This is the first time we've had her on the show like this, which I cannot even believe because we see her so often at the different events. She is a Fullerton Cares director. She also has the distinction of being the aunt to Boyd Hauser, so that makes her royalty. For those of you who don't know, Boyd was just on the show for the second time about a week ago with his dad, Larry Hauser. Larry is an amazing guy, and he created Fullerton Cares. He's a businessman, entrepreneur in Fullerton, has a restaurant, and I understand you're an employee at the Bourbon Street Bar and Grill.
Yeah, I manage it.
You manage it? Mm-hmm. Oh, so you're more than an employee. You're keeping the wheels on. I always wonder, how does he make things happen? So I'm finding out you're the secret weapon. Well, now we know. So, and I always say to people, if you are in Orange County, because you're going to Disneyland or you're going, California Adventure, you should make a stop. It's how many miles away? Is it 3 miles away from Disneyland?
I think barely 3 miles.
Like barely 3 miles. So you go to the Fullerton, and you put in your Waze, you put Fullerton train station, and there's a parking lot right there at the Fullerton train station, and you park there and you're there. Because that's where the Bourbon Street Bar and Grill is. It's there's a row of businesses that line the parking lot, and it's one of those businesses. And so you can go in and get to meet everybody there, but beyond that, have the most scrumptious meal. So we're excited to have Heather here and thrilled because you've been somebody who you've been the Uber aunt. You've dedicated so much time and energy toward Fullerton Cares and towards this. Let's start there. So as an aunt, what was it like for you when Boyd was diagnosed?
When Boyd was diagnosed, I think for everybody, it was the initial feeling is fear. What will his future look like? How will it change? How will it be different from everything that you have in your head about your children when you have them? And our family is very, very close. So it affected everybody. And I think when the wheels started moving towards, what is out there, what is needed, what does it mean? And Larry started to take action with creating Fullerton Cares. It meant that it was a group effort. Everyone in my family is involved. Everyone in Larry's family is involved. We're extremely fortunate to have such a close family. And it just meant that it was time for us all to really pitch in and start making things happen.
Well, and that attitude that your family has is what you brought to Fullerton. I can't say enough good things about the city of Fullerton and the effect that Fullerton Cares has had upon the city of Fullerton because, for instance, I always say this, when we go to the Mardi Gras for autism, look, I go to a lot of autism events. Sure. And, you see the autism community there. And it's one of my favorite things. You see the autism community. It's like, yay, the autism community came. Isn't that wonderful? We're supporting each other. That's fabulous. But a lot of times you don't see anybody else who's from outside. Maybe one or two people. But the lion's share of them are there because it's a family member, right? Sure. There's a direct connection that they're there. And so they understand that they're at an autism event, whatever. But in Fullerton, everyone comes. Everyone. Right. And so I'm usually at a booth and I'm like, oh, how does autism affect your life? Well, I understand that there's somebody in my son's class that's on the autism spectrum, but nobody, and I'm like, and you came? Because that's how Fullerton rolls.
Right, and I think that our Mardi Gras event, is a big one for that because it is about inclusion, and it helps families that, have typical children as well as special needs children all come together and participate in the exact same event. Yeah. And that brings the whole community together, it brings everybody out. And the restaurants and the volunteers, I mean, we're just...
Oh, it's super duper fun.
It's incredible. We're so fortunate. We have so many people that pitch in.
And it's so fun, and truly the businesses are all involved, and we were just, I always say, we were talking about it before, that, I say to my husband and my kid, we need to retire to Fullerton. And when people ask me, they're like, I'm moving to California, like, where would be a good place to go? And I'm like, well, you know, Fullerton is great. And, you know, especially depending on what age your kiddo is, because the school district is very involved with Fullerton Cares as well. And I just don't know any place else where you can find that. So, but we asked you specifically to come today because you got a big event that's coming up.
We do.
And we want to know all about it. We talked a little bit with Larry and with Boyd a couple of weeks ago, but I love, because you have a bunch of different events, and we can talk about all of them. We've already talked about the Mardi Gras for Autism, but this is one of your other bigger events of the year. So tell us what I'm talking about.
Yes, it is the comedy show for autism. This is our 8th year doing it. We've been so successful. We've watched it grow incredibly from a very small restaurant to, you know, huge venues. Now we're rotating between the Fox Theater and the Fullerton Historic Ballroom.
Yeah.
And it has just taken off. It's really been, we do so many things for the kids and for the, you know, to help the kids and involving the kids, that this is one that's for the adults. This one is...
It's very adult.
Yes, it's very adult.
Which is, and I giggle because last year I came and I had my son with me. He had a robotics tournament the next day, and I was going to do just a little piece of my autism monologue show, and we were like, well, he's got to be with us because we have to get down to the robotics tournament the next day in San Diego. So he was 15 at the time, and everybody was like, are you sure you want to do that? Now my child has heard more than his fair share of swear words, so he was okay.
Yeah.
I don't think that I would encourage everybody to do that with a 15-year-old.
Yeah.
I would tell you no. But my kid, you know, and he wasn't there for a lot of it. He came in to watch me and one other person. And
we
then
try
he
and
was out.
structure it so when we have kids that are coming that are part of the show, that we do them in the beginning and then kind of swoop them out.
Yeah, because it's adult stuff, you guys. It's for adults. It's meant for adults, and a lot of adults come, and they come for a good time, and a good time is had by all.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
It is great. This year we have Jay Moore back again, which is incredible.
Oh,
he is hilarious.
Best. Yeah.
And you know, we've got Keith Reza is going to be hosting this year.
That's amazing. I'm really excited for him. That's a super fun thing for him, because for those of you who haven't seen Keith before on the show, he's a comic who's on the spectrum and very open about that. He's hilarious.
He is so funny. So we got so much feedback about how everybody really thought they were just, you know, we had several, you know, on the spectrum comedians, and it just worked out so great. They were the funniest.
Oh my gosh.
And it's such a great, you know, thing to see him every year progress and progress and progress.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Keith Reese he's absolutely invaluable.
So what is the date for this?
The date is October 16th. It's a Saturday this year.
Okay, on a Saturday, because usually it's like on a Friday or a Thursday, right?
It is. Yeah. It's on a Saturday this year, and I think that's going to make it a little easier for, I think, parents to kind of come out and enjoy themselves. And
I think so too. There you go. There's the poster, you guys. And what a wonderful event to go to. Are there tickets still available?
There are. They're on sale now, and they're selling pretty quick.
Yeah, I really feel, and I know that you guys have sold it out before, so, you know, honestly, we tell people, they're like, get your tickets now, and I know everybody likes to procrastinate, but it is the kind of thing that you could wait too long and then not be able to go.
It does. We unfortunately have people disappointed if you don't grab them soon.
And then they call me and go, isn't there any way? And you know, there comes a point when there isn't a way, you guys. So no, get your tickets now.
Yeah.
And then
it's a fortunate problem.
Yes, it's the best quality problem to have. But so, okay, so talk a little bit about what time does the evening start? Because there's stuff before, as I recall.
So the evening's going to start at 7 o'clock. The actual show will start at 7 o'clock. However, beforehand, there'll be, we'll have a silent auction going on down below. We'll have all kinds of pre-party stuff happening before. I always tell people, please get there early.
Yeah.
Much earlier than you think.
Oh, yeah, because you miss some of the most fun beforehand.
Yeah. There's so many things to do beforehand. You know, grab a drink and go, you know, mingle and partake. And we're going to have bands playing and different stuff going on.
Yeah, and so where does the pre happen?
The pre-party is going to happen at the Bowery downstairs. Bourbon Street also will have stuff going on.
Okay.
But the silent auction and everything, I believe, is going to be inside the Bowery.
So really, the way you should do this is you should get the babysitter to come so that you can go have dinner at Bourbon Street, have yourself a nice adult beverage, listen to some bands, mingle with some people, and then head upstairs, because now it's not over, it's upstairs. to the ballroom, and you will enjoy the evening. And it's quite the lineup. How many comics do you know at this point?
We still are adding to it, so we've still
Okay.
got some surprise people in the works.
Okay, all right. But it's several comedians, you guys.
Yes, George
So a lot
Perez
of
will be with us
shorts.
again. George Perez is incredible.
Yeah.
And then we've got a few others coming in the pipeline.
So a lot of short, you know, if you've been to a comedy show, you know, there people do short sets, and then you get the headliner, and that's Jay Moore, and he delivers, he's hilarious.
He's great.
He also has a ginormous heart. So it's
Oh,
super
yeah.
duper fun to see him, really remarkable. Okay, so where do they go to get tickets?
You can go to the Fullerton Cares website and get tickets right now, fullertoncares.com, and purchase your tickets. Also on Facebook, there's a link on Facebook on the Fullerton Cares page on Facebook, and there's a link there also that they can purchase tickets.
Okay, great. And if you haven't already gone and liked Fullerton Cares on Facebook, you really should. Okay, but then let's talk just for a second about like these fundraisers. You know, how does Fullerton Cares use the money that you guys get from these things? Because you guys have some amazing programs and things that you do.
We do. We're so fortunate to give back. It's incredible. We really help the teachers out every year. We give them, $1,000 above their budget to start off their year for things that they need in the schoolroom. We take care of their wish lists in the schoolroom. You know, the things we discovered, like they were unable to use the computer rooms, and they were last on the list to get the computer rooms. And so we put some, technology in their classrooms for them, because it's really important. We've done the sensory garden, which is incredible. The kids just... it's incredible what it brings out in them, being able to go out there and really partake in that. And then sensory room as well. And we've got a list of people that are just always, coming out to us to really help out, and we're knocking them off the list. So.
And what I want you guys to think about, this is a community. This wasn't in place. That like there was a time and a place when this wasn't in place, and one dad said, I need to do something. I'm not quite entirely sure what, but let's get together some other stakeholders in the community and let's see what we can do. And then these things start to happen. And it isn't just like people go, it's not a one-to-one relationship. It's not like every dollar spent is $1 worth of thing. It's wildly more than that. Because when you as a community and a group of parents get together and say, hey, we're going to fundraise and we're going to give money to the special education teachers above the budget and make sure that they get their wish list. Okay, first of all, now what happens in that classroom goes, right? But beyond that, what you do is you activate the imagination of the teacher who says, okay, if I wasn't held to the constraints of what to wish for by this $200 budget, what could I do with these kiddos? So now they're thinking, right?
Right.
And they know I have a working relationship with the parents and with the community, and the value of how these kids are treated goes, it has an effect, you guys, and that translates to how everybody is dealt with at the IEPs. You can't put a dollar amount on that. And it expands, and now the school, I've seen, because I go to the event and the superintendent of the schools comes to the Fullerton, like, hi, I'm here, I'm the superintendent. And I go, what? Shouldn't you be like hiding somewhere from the parents who want to chase you with a pitchfork? They don't want to in Fullerton. This is what I'm saying. And then you have your politicians who come to these events and see that the school is flourishing, and now they care too, and they get involved. I can't say enough about this. I've said Larry needs to write a book.
Yes, I agree. I think that, sharing his experience and how, just taking those first steps have snowballed, and no one gets paid. Everybody's a volunteer. We couldn't do anything without the volunteers. I mean, it's incredible, but he rallies all of that, and he really, facilitates it. And I think that if he wrote a book, it would be incredible. We get asked so often, how do we start this in our community? How do we make this translate into what, we have going on? And I think it would be valuable.
But I'm wondering, Heather, since you manage the restaurant, maybe you're the person to get the book done. maybe we have the actual person here, because I've been saying it to Larry for a while, and maybe Larry's a little busy. Maybe you're the author of this book.
I think it would be a collective effort between everybody.
Okay. But I just think when, we talk all the time about, you start something small, and when you see that it works, how can we, franchise that out to all the communities that need it. And there's lots of communities that are out there that maybe there's a person who's like, I want to start something like this. And here's the other part of it. Here's the other thing that I see is that the mental health of the parents is better in Fullerton than it is any place else because they know they have a community. They know they have people to talk to. They know that they have an ear. And if they have a problem, they have the faith that there's people there who can help them to find the solution for it.
Absolutely. They
And
have resources they ever reach out to.
I mean, that's so much bigger than a comedy show.
Sure.
It's crazy, but it all, you got to do the comedy show. Unfortunately, you got to do that fundraiser that's so much fun in the meantime, you guys. Like this is not like you're having to have somebody read the tax rules to you. This is comedy with a world famous, you guys we had Jay on the show last week.
Did you?
Not last week, last year. What am I talking about? It's wishful thinking. Jay, come back. We want you back, Jay. But he was hilarious. He came and did an hour with us last year before he did this. Really super duper sweet. And you guys know who he is. He's got a great podcast now that I really recommend. But everybody knows him as the bad guy in Jerry Maguire, the one that caused Tom Cruise to have to say, "Show me the money." Right?
Yep.
But I don't like to think of Jay that way because a lot of times he played the bad guy. And very, very infrequently they let him play the good guy. But my favorite movie is Picture Perfect. That movie
that's what I was going to say. Yes.
With Jennifer Aniston.
Oh, my favorite.
Where she, there's mistaken identity and she gets him to play the role of her boyfriend. Mm-hmm. My favorite Jennifer Aniston movie, but my favorite romance. If that's on a Saturday afternoon, I just stop everything and sit down and watch it because he is such a love in that.
It's truer to his natural self.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So but he does hilarious and very adult stand-up comedy.
Yes.
And he's very funny, and ladies, you will appreciate it because he's not afraid to make fun of himself. My husband and I sat there and laughed so hard. And there were, it's that moment in a comedy show where the women all start hitting their husband in the chest going, yes, that. So that happens. And my husband was like, yes, I know. Very, very fun. So super duper fabulous. What else are we forgetting? Because we have less than 3 minutes now. We didn't talk about the All Abilities Prom, but that's a little ways off. But let's say this, you guys, they do so many things. It's like you have stuff all year long. But the two biggest, wouldn't you say, are the Mardi Gras and the comedy show.
Those are the two that have grown the most, for sure.
So you guys, you need to get there. You need to absolutely get there. And then when they get there, how busy are you going to be? What's your assignment for the night?
With Larry and Summer, we're running around just making sure everything happens.
Okay.
I always open the show at the beginning and just from our family.
Yeah.
I'm very lucky to be able to get up there and just say from our family how grateful we are for everybody that's, with
Boyd
us.
is so lucky that he has such a great family.
Oh, we're so lucky to have Boyd. What an incredible,
He's awesome.
Journey this all has been.
But part of the reason why he's awesome is because he has all of you. Like I well up because that's an amazing thing and everybody doesn't have that.
It's true.
So, it's remarkable that he has all of you. And, you guys certainly have worked hard to make that happen. We appreciate that.
Well, and I would say to any parent that doesn't have that to please reach out and please contact us, we have resources, we have avenues to help them.
Awesome. There you have it, you guys, Fullerton Cares. Go to their website or go like them right now on Facebook because they're a great, great resource. See, I'm crying about it. All right, we are out of time. And as always, I never have my sheet on top so that I can tell you what else is happening. And I really, really don't. Here it is. I found it. Okay. So tomorrow we have a best of, and I know you guys will love that. That's our Tuesday thing, unless we have Dr. Temple Grant, and we take all the clips that we love over time, but you guys don't get to see again. So it's really the best of the best, you guys. Then on Wednesday, I'm told that we do have Dr. Doreen Grampichet, so tune in for that for Ask Dr. Doreen. On Thursday, Madeline Aguirre is with us, and on Friday we have John Scahan.
Scan, yeah.
Skin from Fullerton Cares. So it's
Yeah.
Fullerton Cares week here.
I love it.
Revving up for the comedy show. So thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you.
We're out of time, you guys, but thank you for the privilege of being here. We'll see you tomorrow. Until then, give yourselves a hug from me and one for your kiddos too. Bye-bye for now.